Just a couple of weeks ago, I was looking to earn some quick cash. I'm a college student and was short on money at the time. The main reason was that I needed to travel back to my home once my semester ended within a month during that time. So, going for a full-time or even a part-time job at the store didn't make any sense as I had to leave it anyway within a month. So, I wanted to do something like a gig or a daily wage work that would have given me flexible hours to work in and a decent amount of cash to go back home for a vacation. One day, while scrolling Facebook, I was going through some pages that had a special section for these types of ads. Those were the gigs where you could do work for people, like helping them move or do yard work, things like that. I saw an ad there that had very recently been placed for someone asking for someone to clean their gutters. They said they were paying $100 for someone to clean their gutters. The job would only take a couple of hours and ladders would be provided. I thought this seemed like some quick and easy money. I was in pretty good shape and had cleaned gutters in the past while working in washroom areas of stores, so I reached out and had a response within a short time. That was a cold and strange response, but I was blinded by the opportunity, and I didn't get the slightest idea about the nightmare I was leading myself into. Now, I had gotten the job and was told I could come the very next day of the deal. The man who had the ad told me his name was Logan, and he would pay me $50 when I got there and another $50 when I was done. He gave me the address, and the next day I went out to the location. I wasn't familiar with the area at all, as I only went to that town for college and never really explored it much. It was an old neighborhood that seemed sort of abandoned. The house itself looked very old and not in the best of shape. I saw the man was already outside when I got there, and I got out and met him. He was Logan, and he told me he lived there alone with his cat. He was an older guy and seemed nice. He then basically told me what to do and showed me a ladder that was already out. He paid me $50, and I took the ladder and began working. The house had 2 stories above ground, and the gutters were very dirty. It looked like they hadn't been cleaned in many years. It was a sort of satisfying job to see them get clean. I was in the back of the house working at the top of the ladder when I noticed something from inside the house. There was a window on the 2nd floor with a creepy-looking man just staring at me. It looked like he was insane or something, and I remembered how Logan said he lived alone. That creeped me out a little bit, but I kept on working. The man stayed there for at least another minute, and I could feel him staring at me until finally he disappeared. I moved onto the side of the house and suddenly saw a police car pull out front. I didn't think too much of it until I saw an officer get out and walk over to me. When I saw him approaching, I got off the ladder and met him. He asked me what I was doing. I told him how I was cleaning the gutters for the man who lived here. The officer told me that nobody had lived in this house for well over a year, and a neighbor called the police on me when they saw me on a ladder in the back of the house. I then explained to the officer the Facebook ad and showed it to him, as well as the text between me and Logan. After seeing this, the officer believed me, and I told him about the man inside the house. He knocked on the door several times, but got no answer. Logan was also nowhere to be found, and a car that had previously been in the driveway was gone. I tried to call Logan, but he had blocked me. We talked with a few of the people in the neighborhood, and they said they haven't seen anyone near that house for a long time. It looked like those people knew something that they were hiding, but I just wanted to run away from that situation at that time. The police officer told me I was in no trouble and should just go home and they would take care of the rest. I went home and never heard anything more about it. To this day, I wonder what exactly was going on there. One of my hobbies is playing and collecting vintage guitars. So one day, while browsing on Facebook Marketplace to find a guitar, I stumbled upon an ad for a vintage guitar. It was the one that I wanted and at a very decent price. The seller, a guy named Jack, lived in a nearby town about an hour from mine. I asked him online to just let me know the details of his address, and I will pick up the guitar from him at an agreed-upon time. But strangely, he disagreed rudely and insisted on not coming to his house. Then, after a little bit of discussion, he suggested we meet up halfway between us at a self-service gas station. I agreed that it was fair for both of us, as neither of us wanted to drive far in case the deal fell through. As I searched the gas station on Google, I saw some articles about that gas station that had a history of unfortunate events related to it. So now people rarely go near that place. I got worried and told Jack to meet there early in the morning so that there was a lesser chance of any strange or unfortunate occurrence. But he said he worked late, so the earliest he could make it to the gas station was around 9 p.m. That was the biggest red flag that I ignored and agreed to meet him there at night. On the day of the meeting, I made my way there. It was a cold, rainy evening, and I arrived a few minutes early, excited for the deal. As the clock hit 9 p.m., there was no sign of Jack. I called him and he said he was running late, so he'd be there in 10 to 15 minutes. I was starting to have doubts whether this deal was, in fact, too good to be true. About 20 minutes later, an old pickup truck rolled into the gas station. The truck remained there for some time, and then its door opened. An older guy, maybe in his 60s, got out and approached my car. Before I could speak, he signaled me to come near his truck, and then he started to unpack something in his truck. I asked him if he was Jack, and he replied with a nod. That was strange, but I went to see the guitar anyway. The only thing he said was that he was sorry about his late arrival. I went over. The guitar was in its case, and as Jack opened it, I felt a surge of excitement. It looked authentic, but as I examined it more closely, something felt off. The wear on the guitar seemed artificially aged, and the serial number was missing. Doubt crept in, and I started questioning Jack about the guitar's history. His attitude shifted. He became evasive and started looking around nervously. Sensing something was wrong, I decided to back out of the deal as the guitar didn't seem genuine and I won't be investing my money in it. He didn't respond to that and just kept on nodding. And then, as I was about to turn after putting the guitar back in its case, Jack swiftly pulled out something out of his front seat. Before I could react, he hit me with it, sending a jolt of electricity through my body. It was a taser gun. I fell to the ground, disoriented and temporarily paralyzed. Jack rifled through my jacket, taking my wallet and phone with my belongings in his hand. He hopped back into his truck and drove off into the rain, leaving me lying there. I lay on the ground with the rain pouring over me, thinking to myself what an idiot I was for believing this could be legit. A minute or so later, I slowly got back up on my feet, still shaking and aching all over. I made my way back to my car, but I was in no condition to drive yet. I got in and just sat there, with no phone and no way to contact anyone. A few minutes later, a car pulled in to refill. A woman got out. I explained what happened and asked if I could use her phone to call the police. The police arrived sometime later with an ambulance. The officer named Thomas asked me a series of questions, gathering as much information as he could about the person and his truck. As I was talking to Thomas, I saw another officer towing a car on the road. I asked him what had happened to that car. He told me that there had been a murder just down the road near that gas station. The person was robbed and killed in his car. Suddenly, another officer ran towards Thomas and whispered something in his ear in a hushed tone. And then they both looked at me. I was scared. Thomas told me that the person killed just down the road was Jack. They confirmed it from his ID. He was robbed and killed, and the same person in the truck was a suspected murderer. No one knows how he managed to know about me and how I got out of that situation alive. That was a lot for me to digest, so I went home. It's been more than a year since this incident, but I can't get over the trauma of that scary encounter. This happened just a couple of months ago while I was on Facebook on my phone one night. I was kind of bored, so I decided to click on the Marketplace tab to see if there was anything cool on there. I've used Facebook Marketplace once in the past to buy a phone, and it worked out well, so I would go back and look to see what they had occasionally. I needed a laptop, so I was looking for an ad and something got my attention. It was a 10th generation HP laptop at such a cheap price. It was too good to be true. I looked at the details and ended up contacting the owner. The post was made by a woman named Barbara, and she said she was moving out and wanted to sell things she didn't need, and the condition of the laptop was also great. I got a message back from the owner about 10 minutes later. Barbara said it was available, and if I wanted it, I could come and pick it up the next evening. We agreed on 8 p.m., and it was set. I was excited to get the laptop because I knew it was most likely worth hundreds of dollars, which I was getting at such a cheap price. The next afternoon, I messaged Barbara to confirm, and she told me just to let her know when I was there, and she would let me in. Something that I should have done was to go through the seller ID to confirm the authenticity of the seller as well, but unfortunately I didn't do it. Anyway, moving further in the story, I went to work that day. When I got off, I went home for a while before leaving for Barbara's. She had given me her address earlier in the day. She seemed like a very friendly person. I put the address into my phone and followed the instructions for getting there. It wasn't too far away, maybe 20 minutes. When I got to the neighborhood, it seemed pretty average. I then turned onto a road that had a sign that said dead end. I kept driving, and when I got to the end of the street, it led to a single narrow driveway which, according to my directions, was Barbara's house. The long narrow driveway led right up to a detached garage with an old-looking pickup truck parked in front of me. The house was very old with its paint peeled off completely, the stairs broken, and even the windows had shattered glass. Once I parked, I messaged Barbara, telling her that I was there. She responded almost immediately, saying that I could come right on in and pick up the laptop from her. I got out and walked up to the front door. It was dark out by now, and as I approached the door, I noticed that all the lights in the house appeared to be off. Seemed a little strange, but I got to the front door and slowly opened it. It was unlocked. When I got inside, I couldn't see anything. I looked around on the wall for a light switch, but I had to turn on the flashlight on my phone. Finally, I found one switch and I turned it on. A very dim light in the corner of the room appeared. I could see that it was an old living room with a long carpet and some furniture. I didn't see any laptop at all inside, and neither was Barbara anywhere in the house. I suddenly started to get a bad feeling. I walked a little bit farther into the house. There was a kitchen connected to the living room, and then a hallway leading to a back door and another type of living room. There was also a staircase going upstairs and one going down to the basement. I couldn't find Barbara anywhere, and the place was giving me the creeps. I tried to get away from the house when I heard a noise coming from upstairs. I know that it was a stupid idea, but I thought of going upstairs. And as I took a few steps, I felt someone running just behind me and into the basement. I quickly ran back downstairs on the ground floor and peeked into the darkness of the basement. All of a sudden, the main door that I left open slammed close, and I saw someone running away from the window. As I stood there, I heard someone coming upstairs from the basement. I was creeped out now and was finding a way to run away. Once I saw the back door, I made a run for it. Just as I heard whoever was coming upstairs from the basement started moving faster. As I went outside from the back door, I saw tall grass, trees, and wildflowers. I ran sideways through the backyard until I was in the neighbor's backyard, then went through a few more yards. I walked through a few people's backyards, and then past someone's house to get back to the street. I looked from there at the house I had just been to. I couldn't see much in the night, but my car was there, and I knew I needed to get back to it. I walked slowly down the street to get back to my car, which was parked in her driveway. I sprinted to my car and unlocked it. When I got inside, I saw that my front windshield had been smashed, and the glass was all shattered. I backed out of the driveway, and as I did, I appeared to see a man looking at me from the front window of the house. He had this evil smile on his face. When I got back, I saw that the ad had been taken down. I don't think Barbara was even real. It was probably that guy who was looking at me through the window.